we can apply AI or data science or both into our lives and into our daily activities as individuals, as professionals, though the main focus for IDSAI is how Nigeria can harness the benefits of data science and artificial intelligence to boost economic production and move our economy forward. And that's why we look out for professionals from any part of the world, especially Nigerians. If we can lay hands on Nigerians who are professionals that deal with AI, data science, analytics, and domains like that to come and give us insights. We are harnessing these insights and we are analyzing them, we are putting them together into actionable templates that we can begin to pitch with the right authorities, with the right peoples and partners to bring them to fruition and begin to see results within our ecosystem in Nigeria. So once again, I welcome you to this edition of Chat with Experts. My name is Steven. I am a machine learning engineer and a data engineer presently based in Turkey, where I am at the verge of concluding a master's program in computer engineering with emphasis in computer vision and data analytics. So this morning we'll be having Dr. Adekunle Raji as our speaker, and I would seek your permission to introduce Dr. Raji properly so that we'll understand the kind of professional we're going to be listening to and what our expectations could be. Dr. Raji has a BSc in geography and an MSc in remote sensing. And not too long ago, he just concluded a Ph.D. in remote sensing and geographical information systems. So we are like getting him fresh from the oven. He's a fresh bread, and we can't be expecting anything less. So I need all of us to pay acute attention so that we can learn a lot from him. He's really loaded. He's a computational geographer by practice. He's an environmental and sustainability scientist and a geospatial analyst. And he's a member of different professional bodies to underscore and underpin the relevance he pulls with him in the professional domain where he finds himself. He's a member of the American Geographical Union, AGU. If he's in Nigeria, if you see AGU, you will say it's AGO, which is lion, but that's not what it is. It's an acronym. And he's also a member of the African Association of Remote Sensing of the Environment, AAROSE. Currently, he's a lecturer in the Department of Environmental and Toxicology in the Federal University of Petroleum, FUPRE, in Ephraim Delta State, Nigeria. But from what I learned, I think maybe he's somewhere out of Nigeria doing the kind of things he loves doing, which is researching and imparting knowledge. And that's why we have him here, so that we can benefit from his wealth of professional and academic knowledge. So without any much ado, I would want to gladly welcome Dr. Raji Adekunle to take over this presentation, and I will indulge all of us to pay rapt attention. At the end of this presentation, like I've stated in the chat room, there will be a Q&A session where we'll be free to ask questions. And to make it more orderly, if you want to ask a question, you will need to indicate by raising up your hand, and you can also drop your questions in the chat room so that once he's done, I can go through the chat room and see who has indicated interest to ask questions, so that I can call you up to ask your question. And also you can drop your questions there also too, to limit the number of people trying to speak or ask questions directly by audio. I can pick questions from the chat room also. So we have two options: drop your questions in the chat room, and also you can indicate interest to ask a question in the chat room, or raising your hands to ask a question once the presentation is over. And at this juncture, I would hand over to Dr. Raji to take it over from here. Thank you, Dr. Raji.
Thank you so much, host for today. I'm so glad to be here. straight to the presentation I'll be having with the Institute this very time. Let me share the screen. I think I'm unable to share my screen so that I'll be able to go on with the presentation. Let me also ask if we can all hear me. Can we all hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you. You can try screen share
Can
again
you?
and see if I think you should be able to share your screen now. Can you try?
All right. Yes, yes. I'm able to share my screen now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Once again, my name is Adekunle Raji, and I'm so glad and pleased to be having a chat with the Institute of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, an institute that I cherish so well. So this very day, I will be discussing with us um, spatial data science insights from the lenses of a computational geographer. Um, just as has been mentioned, I work with the Department of Environmental Management and Toxicology, Federal University of Petroleum Resources in Efron. Is a well-known school within the Niger Delta of Nigeria, and even the way it is going in other parts of the world are getting aware of footprint. In case you need my contact, you can just scan this barcode. It will take you straight to my LinkedIn page, or you can also, I'm also very much present on Twitter. You can get my Twitter page. So our discussion this morning, the outline goes thus. We'll be looking at how our world is entrapped in geography. And then we'll be looking at computational geography. I'm sure some of us will be asking the question, why computational geography? We'll also be looking at the data science component in computational geography. What are the current events in computational geography? How can somebody build a career in computational geography? What about in the future? Any glimpse? Any concluding remarks? Then we have a question just as the host has made us to understand. So let me take it straight to the presentation view. Okay, so what we see before us, this slide is trying to convey, this slide is trying to explain to us that virtually everything that is happening right now is all about geography. For example, we can see the first aspect of this slide here, where someone is trying to understand where is Wuhan. I'm sure if I ask the question about Wuhan today, everyone should be able to mention it because it has something to do with an event that is shaking the entire earth even up to now, with the world COVID-19 variants and all sorts of things. And we can see even in history that handshake is becoming much more something we need to be careful about, because it is believed that we can contract COVID-19 through that. Question about D&T, maths, chemistry, even sports, all wrapped up in what is of interest to geographers. So just for about 1 minute, I would like us to watch this video and have a good understanding about what I'm going to discuss with us. So that video summarizes our engagement today, that the world is getting much more into a geospatial revolution phase. And therefore, there is no way that a geographer won't be interested in every bit of information that is being sent, being received, and is being communicated across the world. So we go to the next. Our world is really entrapped in geography. Just by the left-hand side of this slide, you can see what constitutes the interest of a geographer, from the environmental weather up to geology and geomorphology together. That is what is happening on land in terms of land features, to the interest of the biogeographer, that is plant animal distribution, to the soil, even to the political space. We'll discuss much more about what is happening within the political space, what is changing about our culture, the history, the economy, the social events, all wrapped up in what is of key interest to a geographer. To the other side of the slide, you can see all the key features concerning the environment. The Carlsbad Cavern is in the US. The Sahara Desert, we quite know that very well. The Niger Delta, I'm going to discuss this image quite on as we move on in the presentation. We remember from 2011, the flood events in Nigeria has intensified over time. Of course, we know about the migration pattern. People are taken from Africa to other parts of the world, particularly the West, Europe, and even America. Till today, the United States are having issues with migration from the south coast of the US, that is from the Mexican axis. And then one of the busiest subways in the world is the New York subway. So all of this, from origin to destination, who is moving to point to another point, is of key interest to the geographer. So computational geography, we might want to ask, yes, computational geography is at the intervening point between geographical systems, complexity science, of which data science is all about, and then the methods and the software that have been developed to help understand the dynamics of geographical systems. So you might want to ask further, how does geography come into the computational science? From this slide, we can see that geography is actually one of the domain sciences. You can see here it's between the extreme of chemical engineering and even physics. As we go on in the discussion, we'll see how maths and statistics, as well as computer science and information sciences with electrical engineering, are wrapped up into what is of interest to the geographer as part of computational science. So let's take a deep dive into the primitives, the history of what made computational geography to come into being. First, it's all about the development of computational sciences, right from the works of the famous English inventor Isaac Newton in 1686, when he developed the laws of motion. That was the first scientific model. And from there, we have the numerical algorithms that was developed, the first of them all in 1947. Then the computer architecture, starting from the Harvard Labs development in 1976. And today, we have virtually every field having scientific softwares being designed to be able to engineer, even from communication to the arts. For example, there is a software that is being used to understand the development of even the Yoruba language being translated for every other person all over the world to be able to understand. So from there, we look at the developments within geography that has appreciated, that has taken over the development in other parts of the computational sciences. For example, what we have before us is the spatial analysis as we have it right now. So if you want to do what we refer to as spatial analysis, that is explaining and describing mathematically and through models how someone can understand the distribution of different activities on the planet of Earth, you can use Python and through various platforms, as well as the new software, which is taking over statistical analysis, which is R. If I take just one example, the ArcPy is one famous script being developed along within the domain of Python. I'm sure we all know what Python stands for. It's a programming language that is quite easy, quite, very adaptable to different learning. And just what I put up here is from one of the platforms in here. If you look within the platform here, it's called S3. That is the company that designed this software, and the software is known as ArcGIS. It is one of those that we'll discuss further. We have had within, if you want to conduct your spatial analysis, you can write a Python script on a software, on the X-ray software, and customize it. And that is what has been done for ArcPy. Not just that, you can also develop further. If we look at Leaflet, Leaflet is one of the programming languages developed within the Python. And if I open this, for example, this is a leaflet map, a simple leaflet map. If I open it, we can see here that you can design a map simply by writing scripts. This is the script that is used for our Y-State GIS program, map server layer. Time wouldn't permit us to go into the details of this kind of program, but it is what it is right now. You need to have that programming language to be able to develop maps. Now, when you develop this kind of maps, they are interactive maps. You can plot, even if you are a guest and you are visiting a place from, maybe you are visiting a place within Hawaii, you can just calculate the distance. If your hotel maybe is located in a block here, and maybe the venue of your conference is somewhere here, you have not visited the place, you can do a simple computation of the distance and the time it will take you to arrive to your venue, the conference venue from the hotel, right? So that is one of the big developments in computational geography. So if I take this further as well, let's talk about how the development, what take us to what I just tried now. There are some development events that developed, that occurred over time for us to be able to, as geographers, to be able to use the tools of computer science and understand our world much better. The first development in terms of geo browsers. Okay, let me explain what a geo browser is, or what a virtual globe is. It's a computer program written for us to view the world from the desktop, from the phones that we carry, Android phones. It's a way to be in a country virtually, to travel to another nation without physically being present here. And the first one is the Earth Viewer. Earth Viewer was designed by Geo Markup, Geo Incorporated in the US, in California. And in 2005, Google acquired Geo. And that is why till today, if you work on Google Earth, the software will save your image first as Geo markup language, because the first company, the parent company that owned that product that became Google Map or even Google Earth is Geo. And the company was just, the members of companies, they were just, drafted into Google Map, which is a component of the entire Google suite. Google has a lot of products along that line. And from Google, we can see development from 2005 to what we have now, how Google has emerged and developed over time. Right now, if you are new in a city and you needed to move from point A to point B, all you need to do is ask Google, how can I get to this point from this point? And it will do the same for you. From then on, we also have the development of Google Earth, which is a set of images, that is satellite images, just like the video that I put in the slide, in the second slide or the third slide showed us that the world right now, you can set up a camera, or you can set up a sensor, and the sensor will monitor for you what has been happening over time in the entire globe, and you understand those changes. So that is what Google Earth is all about. Until now, it is so much so soft and so easy that you carry this information all around with you. And today we have different kind of products. You don't need to rely on Google alone. We have the OpenStreetMap that was developed in the UK. We have the Bing Map developed by Microsoft from 2009. We have the Apple Map, the GeoPortal, the Infinity. We have the ArcGIS Explorer that was developed in 1996. Right now, we have the ArcGIS Earth that was developed in 2007. And even NASA was the first of all government-owned institutions to develop its own. And that is why sometimes people believe that somebody is watching them from wherever they are. It's quite true in a way that there is an eye up there in the sky watching the entire world, how things are changing. And so we have all these virtual globes being used as tools to monitor events across the entire world. So let's take a first dive into remote sensing a bit. Remote sensing, just for the benefit of those who might not really understand what does it mean. It simply means when we use spacecraft, that is when we use spaceborne vehicles, airborne vehicles like aeroplane, drones, that is unmanned area vehicles, and all other physically distant instruments to measure and collect data about our environment. And this instrument generates substantial amount of data that we can use for various decision making. This product ranges from area photographs. Even when maybe you are in a 10-story building, for example, you can take a picture of what is happening at the bottom. Let's say now you mount a camera there just for security purpose. That camera is both performing security and remote sensing duties. So we have it from high resolution to images that you can see up to, a car parked in front of your house, up to the level of seeing an entire local government. I will show us examples as we go on. We also have images that can show you how minerals can be identified in an environment. So when we have this quantum of data, machine learning, which is a component of data science, can allow us to understand what is happening, what changes are occurring. And from there, we can make decisions and we can improve our well-being as human beings. So this illustration just explained to us how satellites that are located in space are connected to receivers. For example, the GPS receiver we have in our hands that we use to identify a location is also, the way it functions is that it collects information from satellites in space and it gives us the approximate, not the exact, approximate location details in forms of longitude and latitudes. And the same thing for weather, the same thing for even monitoring planes that are carrying people, commercial flights and even special flights. What about ship in the ocean? You have the same approach too. And all of these are used at the level of human decision-making, even for entertainment purposes, such as sports. You have an event taking place in China. For example, the Winter Olympics is coming up very soon in China by next week. But everyone across the world will beam all the events live through satellite transmission. But that is for communication purpose, not for environmental or decision-making or military purpose, which is of essential importance. But you can also monitor what is happening in terms of viewership, and that is what even advertisement companies, use to reach their audiences, to reach their consumers who will be able to consume their products and pay for it. So this is an example of an area image. I'm sure a lot of us that are quite conversant with Lagos would know that this is showing us the Apapa ports. And you can imagine the traffic that is being generated just along this road alone. You can see both to and fro. The road median is dividing them. You can see the quantity of traffic. So this is an oblique colored area photograph. With this, we can make it, you can make a lot of decision making. We can have a lot of decision making here, from port activities to transportation to environmental management in terms of coastline, from container and freights, to environmental management, to housing, to tank farm management, petroleum product distribution, and all sorts. We can make decisions from this. Next one is the satellite image. This is a Landsat image of a part of the Niger Delta. I'm sure some of us will be wondering, this is a river, of course. These are interconnecting streams and rivers. And this is another one up here. Which part of the Niger Delta is this? Let me just quickly help us to interpret it. This extends to part of Jedo. We have the Forcados River running into the main Forcados River. This is the Warri River that runs through the back of Federal University of Petroleum Resources. And up here is the Benin River as well, the famous Benin River connecting to Edo State. So we have Edo and Delta states connecting together in this image. Through this image, we can see, for those who can interpret satellite image quite well, we can see petroleum activities going on within it. This can help us to make decisions about pollution and all other environmental decisions, that environmental pollution, bunkering, and all that. We can study all those from here. Next is a digital elevation image, and which shows us the interaction between elevated areas and the adjoining settlements. Of course, we can study a lot from here, but for time's sake, let me move on to this image. This is a LiDAR image, light detection and ranging image. It is quite clear from here. You can see here, this is the White House, and opposite the White House in the US, you can see the tower, the Memorial Tower for the World War II, and all. We can see the Arlington Bridge and the Memorial Bridge as well, and all of that features within Washington DC of the US. This shows us the sea surface temperature from major continents of the world up to the Arctic and the Antarctic. Next is, this is the city of Lagos, right, as at 2020. But Lagos didn't grow up to this stage just like that. This is a Landsat image, of course. It has been processed. This is not the raw image. This has been processed and composed. But we can use this image to study how Lagos developed over time. For example, this study shows us the growth of Lagos from 1984. We can see here that Lagos as a city maintains the boundary as at 1984. But by year 2000, it has already expanded into much of Ogun State. Now, we can see traces of growth along a possible famous expressway as at year 2000. But by 2015, we can see that the development has formed a sort of linear development along the famous Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. With this, we can make decisions about urban sprawl. We can make decisions about urban infrastructure. We can make decisions about several other environmental decisions concerning the growth of a city. This is a hyperspectral image that has been analyzed in a part of Jordan, that is Kiribat enhanced area. Here, we can only see the mineral, one mineral in the upper part, just one mineral. But by the time we apply a hyperspectral image, we can see that not just one mineral, we have the loads of different minerals having, being mapped, that we can map from this area. And of course, when we talk about mineral mining activities is going on, geologists will be able to work on that area, and then trade and economic development can also be advantages and be taken from this. So the question will be, how can we use data science to understand that kind of analysis that can be done. Now, if we look at this, looking at this image, you can see the difference between the conventional scientific analysis compared to what a machine learning can do. This is from a machine learning lens, and while this one is for the usual domain lens, the usual expert lens. For example, if I slot in a Sentinel-2 image, this is what it will go through. You can see the stepwise procedure through which I can generate my analysis in terms of inventing the physical parameters that I want to use to be able to get my analysis out. It will give me knowledge-based exploration of connectivity between the variables that I'm measuring, and my hypothesis, that is the result, will show me the mapping that I needed. It will be defined based on the user who is an expert, and it will give me a result based on what I found. But the result will be limited compared to what a machine learning will do, because the machine learning has tons of hypotheses that it can generate, because it is using much more broader, much more deeper learning, much more, higher resolution analysis being carried out, because the system, the computer, will help me through algorithms that have been developed to be able to understand the patterns in a given remotely sensed image or in a given geospatial science study better than when I take that decision. So the lens here is able to differentiate different results better than when you can see, even with the illustration here, that the output in terms of quality, in terms of error margin, will be lower. The resolution details rather will be higher when machine learning is being put to use compared to when I try to use my eyes to kind of differentiate what is being mapped out in a remotely sensed image. So the question would then be, what are the different methods? What are the different machine learning approaches that are available for us in the field of computational geography? Starting from the supervised learning, which is guiding the system to be able to generate the results, up to the unsupervised, which is permitting the system to learn about what is happening in the environment and be able to generate results, up to what is known as semi-supervised, or what is referred to as hybrid. We have all of this. Time won't permit me to explain what all of this will stand for, because I'm sure some of us are quite familiar with it. The most important thing there is that the error reduction level is reduced, just like I mentioned before. But much more important is that we have a better result. And the key thing is that what is of interest to the geographer is that it is the problem and the solution being sought that will determine what fits the best approach for any of these machine learning products. For example, the most a random forest is the most used of all these. Why? Particularly from developing countries, because we do not have the infrastructure to really probe some of these products that we want to use. So we need more. We need to invest more, actually, in that of it. For example, I can recall that in my thesis, I use artificial neural networks, which is fashioned after the human brains. You know, when we see something, our eyes pick up those things, send signals to our brain. The neurons in our brain try to understand, for example, is this a phone? What can the phone do? You know, the same way we can allow the system to probe a particular remotely sensed image, so that we can then differentiate what features are being shown, you know. And a better version of this is the convolutional neural networks, which is that it allows a more deeper learning. By learning, that is ability to differentiate between features. For example, you want to differentiate between categories of cars that are passing through a particular road, it will be able to tell you which brand is this, what capacity this vehicle can carry, particular time, how many people are in there. So it's more like it resolves more complex problems using more better algorithms. Algorithms are computer programs that are written to understand, to be able to read a particular set of data and separate them. We can do this, in maps and displaying them in maps. We also have, for the unsupervised, we have self-organizing maps. We have the future learning, and we have the one that is actually growing. There is the aspect of it that is still growing, which is the reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is more deeper, probing. For example, reinforcement learning can help us to understand and predict earthquake before they occur based on what has happened before, right? So these are the tools that are being used these are computational tools that are being used to probe the environment, to understand what is happening in the environment through the available data. So we can, just like I said earlier, we have the machine learning and reinforcement learning. We have the different categories of, just like we can see on this slide, different categories of the learning, from the supervised to the unsupervised and the reinforcement. And we have the different outputs in terms of studies that can be conducted. I would have loved to cover all because of time, but I will just mention two of them. For example, if you focus on population estimation, Nigeria is having a huge challenge in terms of estimating the number of people that are in Nigeria. The question is, how many of us are actually in Nigeria? The last time we conducted a census was somewhere in 2006, thereabout. And till now, how many years later now? 14 years later, we still don't have population data, but we can use machine learning to probe our existing data and be able to project. So this is a particular study published just last year, December, I'm sure. It is to forecast, analyze regional population in a part of Asia, in Taiwan. And it tells us the different regression methods that were used to project into the population of Taiwan, a region, a part of Taiwan. All right. And then let's look at damage assessment. We can use machine learning to assess the aftermath of a natural disaster. So how can we do that? In 2009, these two scholars were able to use ArcGIS, which is the main product of Esri, to analyze damage assessment. So using the tool of ArcGIS, they were able to use machine learning to look at stressors. What are the stress? To look at buildings that are within fault lines of existing earthquakes, and we're able to see buildings that are liable to be destroyed, but people that might be affected, and the number of people, including jobs, that will be affected. Next, let's look at the Google Earth Engine. Previously, I mentioned about the development of the virtual globes and Geo Browser. One of the derivative of such is the Earth Engine, and the Earth Engine has become a tool that computational geographers are using these days. Now, you can see it has tons of satellite products from the historic and the current Landsat and Sentinel, MODIS, with vector data, data on terrain and land cover, data on weather and climate. Now, the interesting part of Earth Engine is that it has over 600 public data sets, over 100 data sets are being added yearly, and the volume of data that is being pulled in terms of satellite data is huge. We have over 35 petabytes, and one is being added, 1 petabyte every month. It is quite huge, a place for computational geographers to hone their skills in programming, and then get the results for decision making. Now, how does Earth Engine differentiate from Google Earth? Google Earth allows you to travel around the globe. Just like I said, from the comfort of your room with your phone, you can view maps, satellite images, and all that. But Earth Engine, you use it for analyzing geospatial information. It has tons of images, just like I said, for you to view on. If I click on this link, it will take us through to Google Earth. From here, you can travel to any part of the world quite easily and see what is going on there. For example, if you are interested in visiting a university such as Harvard, you can see here, maybe you have already been told this is where you are going to stay. Maybe you are going to stay in Harvard Kennedy School to study, and you are given PSO to stay. How long is PSO to Harvard Kennedy School, to Kennedy School in Harvard? You can just calculate, okay, I will move from, I'll turn left, turn right, and then eventually get to where I'm going. That is what Google Earth will do for you. But Google Earth Engine takes you to a different world entirely, where you can look at tons of satellite image algorithms. Those algorithms that I've mentioned to us, you can look at it. You can see examples of what has been done before. You can see, I mean, there are a lot of, information and data set that you can hone and develop using the Google Earth Engine. It's a programming database with visualization possibilities, right? So that is what differentiates them. It's just more like comparing your image viewer to Photoshop. Photoshop allows you to do a lot of analysis compared to just a software that allows you to view image, So this is the view of the JavaScript code editor for Earth Engine. And from here, you can run your code as simple as print 1 + 1. It gives you 2. And, time wouldn't permit me to explain all of what this tab stands for. But if you can just, Google will help you to, study more about this. And you can even run a YouTube video much more on that. Let me take you straight to this interesting app. There is this app being developed by an assistant professor in Tennessee by name Christian Wu. It's a Streamlit app. That app allows you to do a pre-study of an area before you go into the study of that area, particularly for decision making. And so I've applied this same app. Let me first of all take you to the app and see how the app functions. With the app, you can work a lot, of geospatial applications. For example, you can see what is happening in terms of satellite imagery changes, weather applications. You can see what is happening in terms of flooding. This is Las Vegas in the US. And you can see impact of burning, that is fire mapping and all that. So back to the slide here, I try to see what has changed in terms of a key location in Lagos, the Banana Island, Lagos, another part of Lagos, the Eco-Atlantic City. How does it develop over time? This is one of the biggest airports in the world, the Changi Airport in Singapore. How does it change? How has it changed from the 90s to the current year? This is for the Lake Chad. How is the Lake Chad changing? The Dangote refinery, what was there before and how has it developed over time? And this is the three-arm zone in Abuja, Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. So the Stream app, just like I said, can allow you to pre-study an environment before you now eventually go ahead to study what is happening there. Part of current events in computational geography. This one will take us into a lot of functions, a lot of uses of the social media. For example, some of us might wonder, how is it possible to map the Twitter? Is it possible to probe Twitter and see what is going on? And how does these decisions or things that people are saying, the tweets that people are pushing forward, how can we make a geography out of it? Yes, we can. This study was published in 2013. And as at that time, over 170 billion tweets have been sent. So these scholars were able to investigate the critical things about Twitter. They were able to investigate the critical things about Twitter. So if I take this forward, what are young people saying about COVID-19 during the COVID-19 lockdown, right? So this is one of the studies that try to investigate what people are talking about, the young ones are talking about under COVID-19 lockdown. And the results found out very challengingly that about 38% of them have mental problems, particularly in Sweden, while 17% of them suffered physical disturbances in Sweden, just from their discussion on social media, right? If we take it further, another development that came up, current event that is going on, is the development of the dashboard to monitor the COVID-19, the diffusion, the spread, and how it is being controlled. We can see this is the famous John Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard, and it probes all. This is as at this morning. This slide is as at this morning, and we can see here 369 million cases already, with 9.9 billion being vaccinated all over the world. Nigeria, about 5% of Nigeria's population are said to have been vaccinated already. So from this is what computational geographers are really using to understand what is going on. This one has bet different lots of visualization and dashboard that people are now presenting as a result of their understanding of the pattern of COVID-19 and all other events and diseases all over the world. The next one, this video tries to explain to us how it has happened in the US in terms of the confirmed cases all over the states, and then the number of deaths, how it grew from the hotspots in New York to other parts of the Midwest, other parts of Midwest, and other parts of the US in terms of deaths and hospitalizations with respect to COVID-19. The next slide is talking about probing Twitter further about the US election that produced President Joe Biden in the US here, in the US. If you look at it, this study actually probed by Chen and our colleagues, Emily Chen and our colleagues, probed the developments right from the party primaries from the 3rd of March 2020 up to the time that the president was called by the major news network in the US. And we can see here, this red represents Trump, while the blue here represents Biden. From this study, we can see that the major decisions that led to people voting the president was as a result of things happening on social media. How did they arrive at that? From this chart, we can see that the DC discussions initiated from Washington, DC, influence events and responses through response to tweets, retweets, all across other states of the US. So it kind of validates that activity on social media can affect decisions of the youth. Of course, if we take it down to Nigeria, we know about the NSAS. NSAS we all know how the NSAS took place and all whatnot about it. So we have some scientists who sat down to try to understand how you can use ArcGIS story map to analyze the NSAS and probe the decisions of people. How did they started? How were they able to use text messages to be able to convince people? Now, you can see here, the terms that stood out that people use over time from the NSAS, from the time it started under the lockdown, up to the issues of Igboho, the Lagos state government, the issues of headsmen, even celebrities and musicians, as well as the name of the president and what happened at the Lekki toll gate. So this shows that geographers can use what people are saying on social media for decision making. And if those are being taken seriously, it will have far-reaching impact on governance, on economy, on several aspects of our living. Now, this is an event that happened this year. There was a subsea volcanic eruption captured by the GO satellite. GO satellite is one of the satellites that monitored weather patterns across the world. So here is Tonga. Tonga is one of the island nations across the Australian continent. And it's a key issue because people were displaced. It caused a lot of issues, but the critical thing is that there was a subsea volcanic eruption, and this satellite, animated satellite product, was able to show the extent how it started. You can even see the timeline up here, the exact time it started, so that the information can be used for humanitarian and disaster management purposes. So in terms of building a career in computational geography, what are the key competencies that is required? One must have sufficient personal effective competencies, from honing interpersonal skills to be a person of high integrity and professional. And it comes right from the base of the pyramid up to the management competencies. As you grow in the industry, there are key skills that are required. It is at the academic competency that geography comes in, which means you must build yourself personally. You must have sufficient the academic records. You must be able to have workplace competence to be a computational geographer. You must have teamwork abilities, because not an individual can understand and solve all the problems as an individual. You need teamwork. You need to have decision-making skills. Have the proper tools to work with, right? And, as one grows into the management level, all these skills are accumulated over time. So to be a computational geographer, what are the key requirements? Apart from having geography as the base skill, math and statistics is important. Having programming and database skills, you can see all, scripting language, Python, develop much more in statistical computing, such as R, have database knowledge, also have much more knowledge in domain and soft skills, such as you need to be curious about data. When you have a set of data, what can I do with this data? Have that problem-solving mindset and ability to communicate. Now, the critical thing about communication in computational geography is that your communication is mixed with geovisualization abilities. You need to do a map. You need to do a set of maps and mix that with math and statistics, your machine learning, statistical modeling, experimental design, all of that come together. And that is what is needed when you are putting all these software software packages to use, whether it is Geoda, QGIS, which is open source, or even ArcGIS or Landsat Image, or even IDSAI, whatever it is you are going to use, you need to have all these skills combined together as you advance. So let's talk about the job titles as of October 2021 on LinkedIn. What are the job titles that seek out for computational geographers? They can call them spatial data scientists or geospatial data scientist, analyst, data engineer, geospatial data engineer, geospatial data developer, geospatial data architects. And we can see the number of people that are quite vast in it. So as you develop along the line, these are the titles and skills that are required for this century as we speak. So let's talk about what the future holds for computational geography. We are getting close to the end of the discussion today. There is the Internet of Things, which is emerging these days. Now everybody's getting online. People are communicating, people are reaching out. Computational modeling and spatial analysis of Internet of Things is quite essential, is what is important, is what is developing right now. For example, people nowadays can communicate far away from wherever they are about things they will do in the next 3, 4, 5 months. For example, you want to attend the conference ahead of time, you can just pen it right there online, and somebody can collate all this data. How many people are attending this conference from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Zimbabwe, from Honduras, from Dubai, and be able to, map it out and make decisions about it. It is still growing. This is still a growing field, but skills that are needs to be honed now, because you need to plan for the future now. The next aspect of it is that you have, just like I've explained, these are real-time issues, and they can be mapped as when they occur. They can be mapped as when they occur using any of the software, not just ArcGIS as we see in this slide. No, they can be mapped as when they occur. The next one is Metaverse. The question is, what is Metaverse? Just like I said, everyone is getting online. It is often said that whoever is online, it is possible that person is actually maybe has lost touch with science or has lost touch with technology and is not active. So whoever is social, you are on social media, you are on Twitter, just as we explained, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn for professionals, you are on Medium, all that. The metaverse is the space where people are building footprints. And just as one of the top richest individuals in social media mentioned, that is Mark Zuckerberg, mentioned that metaverse is the space for the future. So we need to further probe the metaverse to understand what is going on. And the information can be used for security purposes, can be used for economic purposes, can be used for even what a particular set of youths or a particular demographic are requesting online. So metaverse is daily, it is limitless, it is decentralized because it is people-oriented, it is defined by the people, it is people that are building the content there. So we can map the metaverse to see the thinking, to understand the path and the pathway of people. This is particularly important for Africa. Why is it important? Because if the metaverse space are being well utilized, maybe the NSAS issues could have been nipped in the bud. So we need to develop this technology in Nigeria and understand how we can use tools that will be able to know what is where and why is that thing there, and how we can use those things for decision making, particularly security, safety, economy. This image just showed us what metaverse is all about. For example, Nigeria government spoke about regulating Twitter, so we have regulation. But do we have the infrastructure to be able to do it? Do we have the platform to do it? What devices are being used? What apps are being used? What kind of pattern? What assets? What standard? We are yet to answer some of these questions. And it's not just about Nigeria alone. It's even a global challenge. So we need to understand what is happening in the metaverse and being able to map it out and make proper decisions using appropriate data science tools. The next one is VGIs, that is Volunteer Geographic Information System. What this one speaks to is that you can have a group of people that we can use as a guide to understand what is happening in the metaverse. We can have a collection of people where we can send images to them, we can send like questionnaires to them as participants, and then get contributions from them. From that contribution, we can make informed decision. The world is digital right now, but in Nigeria and in some other African countries, we are still using the analog to solve a digital problem. So, and it's not just even in Nigeria, even in some part of the developed world, people are still not keeping to what is emerging before them. So we need more VGIs, across board. When I mean across board, I mean from the academia to the economy to governments, to be able to make appropriate decisions and being able to achieve our goals, just as the output said here. And then even with the goals, we can still get feedback. We can do a relational, a feedback from the people, from the participants once more, to know what has changed between the last study that was done, between the last decision that was taken, and how people are reacting to it. The final one is how we map a smart city. This will take me to Eco Atlantic City. Eco Atlantic City is being developed as a smart city. The way they are taking it, everything there is planned to be so smart that as you are driving towards the gate, even as you are coming from your house, maybe you have a guest there. I mean, maybe you have, maybe you are a property owner and a guest is coming to see you. You would have sent a message, not physically right now, you don't even need to make a phone call. All you need is a text. And that text will be sent to the people at various gates that so and so person is coming, just to ensure that everything is being done. And even the security there is being mapped by drone. That is why you have this, there is being mapped by drone. So a critical part of this is we need to understand much more about the patterns that a smart city can show, so that we can do what is known as smart governance. And smart governance is the advanced form of e-governance. In the beginning, when the internet came up, and sometimes around 2010, e-governance became the buzzword. But right now, for the future, it's going to be smart governance. That is, you don't need to be physically present there to ensure that things are governed properly. But for that to work properly, you need the tools of computational modeling to be able to understand patterns and processes that are not physically seen. For example, you can't see traffic. You can only see cars. The traffic really is not the number of the cars, it's actually the number of people that are affected, not the cars on the road. So the volume of that traffic that is being moved from point A to point B in a smart city, quick decision can be made. Okay, what do we need now? Do we need a metro line to ensure that we have less number of cars? If we want to decarbonize, we need to reduce number of vehicles that are using, the number of vehicles that are using hydrocarbons, and all that. Those key critical decisions are made using proper tools that computational modeling and management can afford us. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate this time. Please, I will round up here. The questions and observations are welcome. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Dr. Raji, I must commend the depth of your presentation and the flow. It's been so lucid and clear enough, and without even being too deep into what you've presented, you've given us an overview of almost every area of application of remote sensing and geographical modeling as relates to data science and AI. And I know our guests and participants really love this, and they will be itching to ask questions. So everyone, the floor is open now. This is a question and answer session, a Q&A session. You're now free to indicate your interest to ask a question, and Dr. Raji is still here with us to answer. But I'll go first. Dr. Raji, from your experience and some of the projects you've been on in the past and up to this moment, within Nigeria, what specific application area do you think is very prominent and needs to be harnessed as quickly as possible and has the potential to also deliver quick results in terms of improvement, in terms of impact on society and development?
All right, thank you so much, our host, for that question. That question is let me put it this, a billion-dollar question. For example, if we look at what the youth made as their request under the during the NSAS protest and the response of government to it, we'll know that it seems the government and the people are quite at distance. You can see the lack of understanding. So if the government can invest in understanding the pattern of the thoughts of the youth, it will make governance very easy. And how do you do it? For example, look at the request people are making from southern Nigeria compared to the northern Nigeria. You know that they are different. And a simple geospatial analysis will tell you that those in the south are tech-oriented, therefore use technological solutions majorly for their request. Those in the north are agro-oriented, use agriculture to resolve the issues. And you can, at a point, find a middle point. And when we have regional disparities, that is what a geographer quickly picks, and decision can be made as such. And that is why, we need people, we need government to invest more in data science related technologies, not just telling us things. I don't want to give examples because maybe some of us are here that are, employees, direct employees of government, and might feel offended. I don't want to make examples of what has been said in the past. But what I want to say is that we need investment, huge investment in technological solutions that can help us bring data science tools into decision making. It is not sufficient just to sit in Abuja and then make decisions for people in Calabar. You need to understand their thinking. You need to understand their words. And how can you do that if you don't get online? It is what they say online that you will know what they want, not what you think they need. And that's how governance has emerged. I give us an example. In 2019, the government of Singapore got online and found out that the age group from 19 to 27 are not happy with government decisions. And what did they do? From what they say, they analyzed their text and found out that they are not okay with some of government policies regarding their welfare. And the government looked into their purse and found out that they have roughly about 4.5 billion Singaporean dollars. And they just forwarded this money to their accounts. And from the feedback, you can get to read the newspapers from Singapore as at this period, the period that I mentioned. Everything went down. That issue just went down. So until governments in developing countries, not just Nigeria, invest in understanding the thought process of the people they govern, we will still be going round and round. And this cut across all the ministries. The transportation is essential. E-commerce is essential. Industry, there is no way we can. How do we resolve even unemployment problems without investing in industry? So these are the challenges before us. And if we don't invest in the critical infrastructure, that is the infrastructure that studies the people's art, that makes us to understand what the people are saying, there is no way the country will really develop. And that is the truth. So it is across board. I'm not going to box it to a sport. Data science is applicable to every aspect of our economy, every aspect, even to the stock exchange, how the stock exchange is functioning. We can use data science to probe what is going on there, even to the relationship between the local government chairman and the world councillor up to the people on the street. Data science can help us to probe all of this. Where do they need pipeline water? Where do they need better postal service? These are the questions. These are the areas. They are not limited. These are the areas that we can apply all this.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting to see. You, a quick one. From what you said, I want to just make a comment. You mentioned the disparity between the North and the South being more tech oriented, while the North is agro oriented. And from geographically looking at this, it makes a lot of sense because the North seems to have a lot of arable land at their disposal compared to the South. So they are more inclined to agro activities. And this is where government can actually come in to create some kind of synergy where tech drives agriculture and tech practitioners will benefit from agri produce, while agri practitioners are benefiting from the impact of tech on their outputs and their processes. So this even looks so interesting because it makes it clear that there's actually no divide, but is a problem of finding that middle ground where these different geographies interlink and have a handshake that is kind of symbiotic where each benefits from the other and the other services the other. No one is at the receiving end, no one is the boss, no one is not interested in this union or something. So, and I think as professionals, we also will begin to look at these areas. How can tech actually be used to harness agri output and make sure that our agricultural practices are not predominantly peasant and human driven rather than tech driven, where you have machineries, equipments, processing, and all of that, which is where we really have a problem. The little we produce, we have no processing capacity to actually derive optimal benefit from them. So at the end of the day, it goes to waste, and this is where tech comes in, and we should keep pushing that, and we hope that with time this knowledge, this awareness becomes so popular that everyone is almost on the same line of thought and everyone is applying their energies, their skills, their ideas and thinking towards finding solutions that really benefit the Nigerian people, because that's the interest of anything we're doing and wherever we are in the world is how we can make our own contributions to benefit the Nigerian people, even if you don't reside in Nigeria personally or as a family. Nigeria is always at the center of our thoughts and how it can become better, because there are potentials. We have the potentials, mineral resources, human capital resources, and all of that. We have it in abundance, but we need to find a workable equation to make these things work. Dr. Raji, I would want to thank you once again. And to our
Thank
participants,
you so much,
please,
sir.
do we have anyone with a question so that we can conclude in the absence of any questions?
While we are waiting for the question,
Okay.
I can add more to the points that you raised, which I really agree to. In engineering, there is something called precision engineering.
Yeah.
And in agriculture, we have precision agriculture.
Yeah.
Precision agriculture is AI driven,
Yeah.
is data science driven. So when we know the strength of a particular soil, we know the type of agro technologies that can be applied. And from it, we can increase our output. When the output is increased, we know our markets, we know the time to deliver those things, because indeed, agriculture is a large value chain, and that chain is incomplete until the agricultural produce gets to the final consumer. So until we put precision into agriculture, we will still be using cutlass and hoe, and cutlass and hoe can only give us the results we are having.
That's true.
Cutlass and hoe is the technology of the Stone Age,
That's
and
true.
that is why we are still getting the Stone Age results. Until we do what is right, we will keep getting what we are getting, because nobody can keep doing the same thing and expect a better result. No.
Definitely no. Definitely no. From the mood of our participants, I guess no one has a question to ask. And in the absence of that, I would want to thank everyone that have spent time with us on this virtual event. Uh, you're the ones that encourage us to keep doing what we're doing and keep looking out for more opportunities to provide insights, to provide skills, to provide solutions to the problems we face in Nigeria and the areas we can actually apply data science and AI to get optimal solutions, because that's the most important thing now. Not getting solutions, but getting solutions that are optimal and sustainable in such a way that you are sure that these things are scalable. These are solutions that you can scale, you can keep improving on without impacting what you have done before or losing the ground at any point in time. So we thank you for always keeping faith with each side, and we also encourage you to keep being in touch, share your ideas, share your insights, share recommendations, make comments, drop your reviews on IDSAI activities on our social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Twitter, and on Facebook. The link will be sent to your emails, and our emails also carry these communication channels that you can reach out to us, and we really would appreciate that. And then if you also have ideas you think each side can partner with you or with the organizations, we are always open to ideas for partnership and to push the bands of knowledge further, especially within Nigeria. We want to overwhelm the society in Nigeria with knowledge regarding to data science and AI, so that no matter what you're doing, whether you're a medical practitioner, whether you're an engineer, no matter what you're doing, you begin to look at areas within your field where you can benefit from data science and AI to become a better professional, to become a better person that offers solutions that are scalable and that are sustainable. So you're always welcome, and we thank you for your continued loyalty to what each side does. And then I will thank finally our speaker today, Dr. Raji Adekunle. You've been a wonderful speaker, and your knowledge is really vast, and that's a good one. That's a good one. Each side we always want to have you at any point in time, and I would ask you to always oblige us should we call on you anytime soon to share some domain specific knowledge with us, maybe based on our new interests and some projects we could be engaged in anytime in the future. Thank you once again. Thank you once again. And at this juncture, I would want to close down this event and also remind us that the video of this event has been recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. And we will send the link to the channel to our emails, and also it will be on our LinkedIn page. You can check our LinkedIn post in the next 24 hours. You will find the link to watch this video at your convenience, and also to share it with your friends so that they can listen up and learn more. Thank you once again, and I hope to see all of us and in the next event, the 8th edition that will be coming up by the end of next month. Thank you, and do have a wonderful weekend. Bye.